So hey everybody, I'm Jared Lane and I'm here with Meg Sterner. We're both graduates from different Artios campuses and we're here today to talk about our experiences going through Artios and what our favorite parts were and how we've seen it affect our lives. And so Megan, thanks for being here and talking about it.
Yeah, I'm super happy to be here. Super excited to be a part of this.
Great. So tell us a little bit about what it was like for you going through the Artios of Sugar Hill.
Yeah, for sure. So I went to Artios of Sugar Hill for 12 years. So I was there for a very long time.
Nice.
I am the youngest of four kids, so I was the last one to go through Artios all the way. And I was a music major and a theater minor when I was there. So took all the music classes. I was in drama club the whole time I was there and absolutely loved it. Focused on voice. I'm a singer and I've taken that with me on to college now. And I absolutely loved my time at Artios. Every single year I was there, it had a profound impact on me.
That's really cool. I was actually the same major and minor as you were. So I was a music major with a theater minor as we went through it. And so basically, what I think that allowed me to do was it allowed me to experience music on a deeper level that really prepared me to do it in college.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
because I don't know if you've experienced this in college, but like there's kind of like this shock that happens a lot to people who decide to try to major in music of like they were in choir, they loved music, so they're like, oh, I'm going to do that in college. And then it's just totally different because now there's theory, there's like crazy high expectations compared to high school. So like I was really thankful for like the conservatory aspect that really helped me. So it wasn't as much of like a slap in the face when I started doing the music major
Yes.
stuff in college.
Yeah, I totally felt that too. At Toccoa, definitely when we came in, there were a lot of people in the music major my year who had no experience with theory, with oral skills, with voice lessons, anything like that. And it was really hard on a lot of them. And some people ended up dropping out because it was more than they expected, and other people just really struggled at first. So I'm really thankful that I came in with a really solid foundation and I was really ready to go. It's like a lot of this is actually a review for me freshman year and this is great. So that was very helpful.
That's good. So did you end up taking like theory classes at Sugar Hill while you were there?
Yeah, I took, let me think. I think I took 2 or 3 semesters of music theory while I was there, and that included oral skills too. It was great. Really covered all of the basics that I needed to feel prepared going into college with the major.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't, thinking back to how long it took me to grasp things like chords and key signatures and like the conservatory at Artios, I can't imagine what it would have been like trying to do it once I got to Bob Jones and trying to learn it at that fast of a pace. It would have just been chaos.
Definitely helped a lot.
That's awesome. What was like one of your favorite? I have a lot of fond memories of like theory class in particular for some reason. Like, what were some of your favorite like class times that happened as you were going through Artios?
Yeah. Well, for music theory in particular, it was really unique because it was a very small class. And in fact, by the time we were finishing up, it was just me and one of my other really good friends going through it together. And honestly, I loved that so much because we had other classes that were huge. But in that class, it was just us and our teacher, and we loved her. And me and my friend would always prepare together, and we'd get ready for our like oral skills tests to get tested on intervals. And those were some of my favorite memories. We would drill each other on them before we'd go into class because we had study hall before it. And then we would go in and just do the best we could. And it was always really fun.
That's
So I
awesome.
definitely loved that.
Yeah, that's great. I feel like there's like this special like bonding of a friendship that happens with before like oral skills exams and
Yeah.
really any type of exam when it's like a small class and you're all like working through it, trying to get through it. And like I think that's one of my favorite parts from doing like a music major at Artios or really just being involved in Artios is like all of the well, a lot of times sometimes in Artios it can feel stressful because of like how much you're learning and being pushed.
Yeah.
But like when you have classmates who are also being pushed by their teachers at the same time and you're all being stretched, there's like this like camaraderie that happens throughout like the whole class as you go through and grow in what you're learning about. It's pretty cool.
Definitely. I think a testament to that is just how you'll see those friendships like continue to withstand the test of time too. I mean, that friend, I was just talking to her earlier today, and we're juniors in college now. I think we were sophomores then, and we still keep in touch and we still care about each other, and we're both still involved in music. So I think that's really great.
Yeah, it's so cool. I'm like in the same boat of me and my friend from I guess the Littleton campus. We he was a theater or visual arts major and I was music, but like because of all the musicals and just all the stuff that happens with that, we became really good friends. And then I went to college at Bob Jones. He stayed and did a business degree online. And for all the 4 years, we hardly saw each other, but stayed kind of sort of in touch.
Yeah.
And then like 4 or 5 years later, it's like, no time has passed and
Yes.
we still have that like awesome friendship that was created through the fires of tech weeks and musicals and all sorts of stuff.
Yes. That's real.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think that's so awesome. And that's definitely something that I think I treasure, especially for my time at Ardios, is the community that I even left with. Like the community when I was there was amazing, but the fact that I still have so many of those friendships and just that group of people around me, even though we're not in the same vicinity anymore, that's just some friendships that don't always require proximity. And I think that's been really awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Like friendships that don't require being physically close in a city or whatever, but they still last all the way through it. And that's like really really awesome. I'm really thankful for it after like even like this year and stuff where throughout certain parts of the year it's like impossible to get together to actually do something,
Yeah,
right? But it's you're still able to have that connection with people
yeah,
because of the forging fires at Tech Weeks and stuff. But yeah, that's really cool.
yeah.
So like, did you do musicals while you were there?
I did. I
Yeah.
love musicals.
Yeah. What was the if you had to choose, what was the favorite one?
I would say Hunchback of Notre Dame, my senior year, and I got to play Esmeralda, and it was my probably one of my favorite things ever, maybe in
Yeah.
my life. It was it was
Definitely.
so much fun. It was such a great group of people. We all worked so hard on it. And we just really got to see it pay off. It's such a beautiful, beautiful show. It just has so many great ideas in it. It prompted so many good conversations among all of us. The whole cast was working so hard together. It was really, really special. And we got to take that show to a competition later on in the year, and we were all just so excited to be there and so proud of ourselves for the amount of work that we put into it. It was really special.
That's really cool. I remember that year of hearing about you guys and not going to that award thing and going to like the Fox Theater and doing something there and all that stuff. That was really cool to hear. Yeah. And I think that's like probably one of the most rewarding things about being involved in one of the stage productions is there's so much work that goes into it from everyone involved. And then you find you after so much work you get to present this final product that you can be really proud of to
Yeah,
people. It's really nice. It's really cool.
it's amazing. So I
Yeah.
loved it. It was so much fun. Great.
Yeah. And I also loved it because like the group that grew around it was always so fun and for lack of a better word interesting because like everyone was involved. All the music people were involved, theater people were involved, film people got involved somehow. The art people were helping with the sets. Parents from like that you would never meet are there helping build the sets and tear down and set up, and so you get this one of the weirdest conglomerates of people that is just so awesome to be around.
And it's so cool. It's something that I definitely appreciated about when I was at Ardios, especially going into high school, was when our school started doing multiple shows every year, and we would split up into multiple casts and then come together for a show all together in the spring.
Mhm.
And I thought it was really great because every year you kind of got thrown in with a new group of people. And there were always
Yeah.
people that I didn't know at all. Even if they'd been at the school for a while, maybe I just hadn't gotten close to them and hadn't been around them. And there were some faculty members that I didn't know very well that I would get to know. And it just made for a really cool experience where by the time I graduated, I felt like I knew everyone. And I'm not the most outgoing person naturally, but it just, I got thrown in with so many different types of people that by the time I left, I knew everybody's name.
Yeah, that's great. That is really cool. I still like even thinking back, it's been five years since I graduated. And still feel like I could name like every person in the high school.
Yeah.
If like I saw them, I could just like wave and say their name and strike up a conversation because of all that stuff going on. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Like you were talking about being with the strange group of people, not strange group of people, the eclectic group of people that forms around the musicals and stuff, and how you weren't too much of an outgoing person, but you began to know everybody. Would you say that things like that in Artios have had like a lasting impact on like who you are that you can see now?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. It's funny. I think if you were to ask people that I went to Artios with whether or not I'm an outgoing person, they would probably all say yes. But I had been there for 12 years. So I was very, very comfortable in that environment. So when I went to college, it was really different for me. And I realized that I wasn't as naturally outgoing,
Mhm.
but I had those experiences getting to know people. And even though it didn't come to me naturally, I'd been thrown into it so many times that going to college kind of felt like getting thrown into it again. And it was just like, okay, here we go. So now I'm going to get to know these people and we're going to become friends. And maybe we don't get a tech week, but we get a finals week. And that's just about as stressful. So we will find our ways to bond there. And it definitely helped. I feel like I gained the skills to create relationships with people that do last. And
Mhm.
that that was definitely a big help to me and something that I didn't realize I was going to get from Artios. When I graduated, I wouldn't have said that that's something that was going to help me or something that I was aware of. But since I've been at school, I've noticed that.
Yeah. That's so true. There are a lot of things like you're going through Artios. There are a lot of, um, I guess like, um, I remember this one rule that the entire conservatory hated, which was, I think except for like a couple times or if there was an emergency or something, like you couldn't use your phone.
Yep.
Like I think the director was like, there should be no electrical current running through your phone while you are here.
Yep.
Was the rule. And I remember it's like, you're like, oh, this is dumb. Like I'm 16, this is awesome. I drive, I'm a independent adult, and you're like, and looking back, I realized that in the kind of what you were saying of being thrown into it helped um just made it like a natural part of who you are to want to create deep lasting friendships with people, of being in that environment where, because of that, mainly that one rule, um the whole group is always together and like actually together with each other, right? Not just in proximity but off in their own world. And looking to the college and the friendships I made there, I can kind of see like the legacy of Artios and it's like how it thinks in the philosophy of the school community in like the high school groups in particular, and how that impacted me in the kind of friendships I wanted to build in college and the kind of friendships I wanted to maintain when I graduated. And that's been so huge over the past few years.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember the cell phone rule very distinctly. And I just also remember thinking, like, this is ridiculous. This is just not that big of a deal. Like, why can't we just have our phones out? I just want to sit here and not talk to people. But now I realize how much of a crutch it is in social situations where it's like, okay, I could go talk to people, or I could just sit here and be on my phone, and that one is significantly easier.
Yeah.
And so I have to tell myself now, like, okay, like, new class, new people, I could pull out my phone, or I could talk to the person who sat down next to me. And I know from experience that I'm going to be happier if I talk to the person who sat down next to me.
Yeah.
So it definitely, at the time, definitely seemed like this is ridiculous. Like, they just don't want to have to deal with phones. They're just, this is a stupid rule. But I can see, like, they definitely knew what they were doing. It was a very intentional, conscious choice that was for our betterment, for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Like, I guess it's like, it kind of raises the bar, like, in a good way. It raises the bar of kind of what we have been like willing to settle with in terms of like a friendship.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, because of Artios, we've been able to experience like such a deep connected community that once we leave it, we like, I don't know. It's like we just want to create it where we are, and have those deep friendships, because we know like that's what we were made for, right? For those kinds of really deep friendships that you can like really trust one another. Like that's what God made us for. And so being able to experience that in Artios and have a taste for that makes it so we can, like go out and make it elsewhere. It's really cool.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was my sophomore year, I was at the graduation ceremony for that class. And I remember John giving a speech to them. And he said that the community that we have at Artios is not something that happens on its own. It's something that has to be recreated every single year. And he addressed the rising senior class and said, so now it's your responsibility to create that. And then addressing graduating seniors, it's your responsibility to create that wherever you go now. And that was the first time that I had considered that it wasn't just like Artios, like magical Artios, something about the name, about the building that makes it so good.
Yeah.
Wow, wait, no, people are making this happen. We are making this happen. We have to put the effort forward. And there's so many different pieces that go into that. But it's so much more rewarding that it's from intentional effort than that it's just happening by coincidence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think we get caught up in thinking a lot that like a friend is just someone you naturally click with, and that's it. Whereas like exactly what you were talking about, like that might start a friendship, but the friendships that last the 4 years of going to different colleges and still being really close friends are the ones that we learn a lot of through Artios. That it takes a little bit of work to create those friendships, but man, they're worth it, and it's amazing.
Yeah,
that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that you've are there any teachers that you had that you've stayed in touch with since you left Artios?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I had a teacher, oh my goodness, I don't remember how long I had her for, but I had Miss Noelle Gast for a very long time as my music teacher, and then as a voice teacher, and as a choir director, and doing so much for us, I think at least through my freshman year. And I definitely still keep in touch with her. She was there when I graduated. She gave me a little pendant that has little music notes on it, and it says courage, and it hangs in my car. And every time I see it, I think about her.
Oh, that's awesome.
And she was definitely a big inspiration for me for pursuing music. And Mr. Toller was similar in that way. Still keep in touch with him. We still go back to the Artios shows and everything all the time.
That's
At
awesome.
Cedar Hill, and love to keep in touch with everyone. And we have so much family in there.
Yeah.
Family reunion, and we just see Artios teacher.
Yeah.
But in general, it's in a lot of ways we've moved on from our season of life where we were at Artios, but in many others it still feels like we're really plugged in and involved and close to the faculty there. And my mom is a teacher there. She was there when I was there, and she's still there. My sister teaches there. My in-laws are there. They're all over the place, but I really cherish the relationships that I have with the teachers. Several of them were at our wedding, so they're definitely a big part of our lives.
That's really awesome. Like how you're talking about of like feel like you've moved on to another stage of your life, but in a very real sense, you're still connected, even if it's not like you see them every week and the majority of your time is spent with them, but they're still there for you.
Yeah.
Like no matter how, like my theory teacher, Mrs. Daphne Fine, like she was the one that really helped me realize, oh, you know what? I think this theory side of music, this writing side of music stuff is really cool. I think I want to explore it a lot. And like when I first started thinking about like switching my major in college and stuff, like she was one of the people I went to, and she was like, "Oh, Jared, you got this. You got this." This was like super supportive all the way through. And like that's like one of the things that's amazing about the teachers of at Artios is that they will be perfectly honest with you, but they're always supportive.
Yeah.
Like if you come to them and you're thinking, no, I really want to try this thing or I really want to get better at this, they'll be perfectly honest with you if they think it will be hard and stuff. But even if they know it's going to be hard for you, they're going to be right there helping you get to where you want to go. It's just amazing. I feel like you don't find teachers a lot who are, I would say, like brave enough or like have the courage and love for the student to really encourage them and walk alongside them to go down this road they know is going to be really hard for the student to get to, but they know the student's passionate about it and excited for it, and so they'll go with the student.
Definitely. Yeah, I remember having teachers say when I said I was going to major in music, they were like, that's not going to be easy. Just so you know, like it's going to be very difficult and you need to be prepared for the kinds of expectations they're going to have for you when you get to college. But then they didn't shy away from that, and they were willing to say, so like let's do what we can to get you ready before you go and to equip you with what you need to succeed, because that's what they want to see. And it
Yeah.
definitely means a lot to me to have a teacher say that they're concerned with seeing me succeed even once I'm not their student anymore. And it's no longer their success for me to succeed. It's
Mm-hmm.
so selfless for them to prioritize me at that point and say, like, I care about you as a person enough that I want you to do well, even when I'm not seeing it and when I get no credit for it and when I have nothing to do with it. So I'm going
Yeah,
to help how I can. I think is not something that you're going to get anywhere.
that is definitely true. And I think that kind of ties into like one of the big, I guess, like cornerstones that the teachers at RDS believe is that like each of us are unique individuals that God has given us passions about certain things for a reason. And if those passions are not the most practical passions and like desires to accomplish, they're not like, oh, that's not the most practical thing, so go find something else. They know that God gives us passions for things that he wants us to pursue to make a difference in the world with, right? And so I think that's one of the big reasons why they don't shy away, is because they know by culturing that passion and growing the skills that go along with those passions are part of their calling as a teacher to equip Artios us into what we're supposed to do, which is really awesome.
Yeah. And I definitely felt that in a unique way too, because for me, going out of Artios, I was telling people, like, yeah, I'm going to pursue music because I love it and I'm passionate about it and it's what I want to do. But also, I really want to start a family and I really care about that. And it was something that I would receive criticism for a lot, where people were like, you just need to focus on getting into a career and you need to focus on getting a good job and getting an education. It's like, I'm going to do those things. Don't worry. But I had a lot of teachers at Artios who were just really supportive of all of that, and just coming from a Christian perspective, coming in and saying, like, what can we do to make you do both and to help you fulfill the different aspects of your aspirations and your dreams. And they definitely saw the value in both things. And I think that was really great too.
Yeah, that's it like sticks with you when you've had several people who support you like that. It kind of creates this like internal drive almost of like this conviction that know is true, that I need to pursue these things that God has given me a passion and a love for, because that's what He's called me to, even if it's not practical. And I have this body of support behind me too. And now that I've had it, I'm like really driven to do it. Like it works on you both ways in terms of like externally being motivated by the teachers, and also like helping you like live in this mindset of that's what I'm going to do as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about that the other day because I was trying to decide whether or not I should do a type of recital where I would sing uh, for like 30 minutes or something, and trying to decide if I should do it because it wasn't required. And I thought about Dana Perry, who was one of our teachers at Artios, who passed away our senior year.
Yeah.
And it was really, really hard for our whole school, but really brought us together in a really amazing way. And just thinking about her, and I thought, what would Dana Perry tell me if she were here right now as my teacher and my friend, if I was considering doing something where I would get to practice my craft and practice what I'm passionate about, but I just feel like it's too much work and it's not required. Like, she would tell me to do it because she'd want to go.
Yeah.
So I should do it. And
Awesome.
definitely had a lasting impact, for sure.
Yeah, that's really cool. And even when you said, Dana Perry, who is my teacher and friend, like I feel like that's so true for so many of the Artios teachers. Like they're your teachers, but they're also friends. And it's
Definitely.
awesome of how they come alongside you instead of like stand above you and be like, have this information, learn it, and take a test. They're right there with you the whole time.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's awesome. One of the teachers that did that, I think for me a lot, was Mrs. Candy Dixon, and she was the science teacher at Littleton. And I remember when, I think this was the first, because Littleton was a fairly new campus, and so this was one of the first years that we had like a dedicated science teacher for like all the classes. And so she comes in, she starts teaching biology, and here's this group of very similar, fairly artsy people who have probably never experienced like a fairly rigorous, can't say the word, a fairly difficult science class. So we come in, and I remember the first week, we did our homework, we turned in the homework, and she like immediately picked up the fact that she was like, I don't know if these kids are really understanding what this class is. And I also, this is the important bit, I also don't think these kids understand how much they can grasp and understand this topic, and like how good they can do in this, even if this isn't their main passion right now, or where they're putting the most time in. And so I remember like almost like freaking out about this class, because I was like, she's like asking so much of us, and it's like, it's crazy and stuff. But it wasn't like she was there. I remember the classroom so well. We put together all the tables, and she always sat at the end of the table. And it wasn't like she sat at the end of the table expecting us to learn all these things. Like, she was always available if we needed help with homework. She was always walking alongside us. If she realized we weren't grasping ribosomes and proteins and stuff, she would stop, and we would work on that, and then we would move on once she really felt we all had a good not just knowledge of the subject, but really understood it and grasped it really well. And she just kept raising the bar all throughout semester of what she required the entire time. And we all rose to it because we had someone calling us to something that I don't think we thought we could, do academically beforehand. And then there she is doing it, and there we are going up with her, which I think was still probably one of the things I'm most thankful for from going through Artios, was that class and how she pulled us up to these standards she knew we could make.
Yeah, that is so awesome. So I didn't do prep when I was at Artios, but I definitely remember dance. taking dance classes with Wendy Lane,
Mhm.
and I loved it. I had so much fun doing it, and I danced most of the time that I was there, but I have no natural talent for dance. And I just remember that Wendy would always kind of take a chance on me because she knew I would work hard. And especially when it came to shows, she'd say, okay, you're going to be in this and you're going to learn it. And it's going to be really, really hard. And you're going to hate me for a little while, but you're going to do it. And she would always work with the group and just show us something that at first we all thought there is no way that we can do that. That is impossible. And she would take the time and make sure we were comfortable with it. And by the time we were performing, we felt great and we were super proud of ourselves that we had improved so much over the semester. So that's, I felt that too. Just
Yeah.
not with biology.
Yeah. Like, I remember Jeanette Lane, when I guess at that time she would have been Jeanette Patton. But anyways, like when she was teaching choreography, and I remember all the times this was probably just naive high school me being like, oh, we got it. We got the moves. And like, this is working great. And she was like, it's not as good as it can be, guys. And she just keep like those rehearsals, they're not, I wouldn't call them like bad rehearsals, but they're intense because like everyone's in the mood of like, we're going to make this so good and as good as it can be. And the teachers know that we can get there, you know, and you're just going. But then like once the performance comes, you're like, man, that was worth it. And that really like sets like a precedent, I think, for like everything we did afterwards of like, we know that if we push ourselves and in a good way, like expect of ourselves, you know, excellence and good things, we can usually hit it. You know, we've experienced people requiring that of us, and then it kind of just becomes like a way of life after that, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely. I think it shows you how much potential you have when you work hard and when you just put the effort into it, because natural talent is a part of it for anything, and that I think that includes academics and that includes arts, whatever category you're looking into, but it is a really small part.
Yeah.
And there's so much is about the effort that you're going to put in and just the dedication that you're going to have. And I think I definitely learned that from those
Yeah,
experiences.
that's really cool.
Mhm.
This might be a hard question to answer because there's probably a lot of answers to it. If you could think back to some of your private lessons, what was one of the times where your teacher um, recognized the opportunity to really teach you something, maybe about music, but also like about life in general, or about God and Jesus and like how to approach life and stuff that really has stuck with you?
Yeah. Oh boy. Well, definitely, I learned a lot in private lessons about life, I would say. But I think one of the biggest kind of recurring things for me is that I spent a lot of time when I was first learning how to sing, focused on sounding good all the time and sounding pretty. And I would stand there and I would like stand perfectly straight and I would sing and it would sound good, but it would look ridiculous because I wouldn't express anything. And my biggest weakness was I would do these weird things with my eyebrows like the whole time. And I just looked like a fool. And I remember a big part of my lessons with Mr. Toller was you have got to stop trying to sound so pretty and stop trying to look perfect the whole time. And you've got to loosen up and be more honest when you sing. And I remember that was really, really hard for me because I did not want to admit in any area of my life that I could make a mistake and that I could be doing something wrong, especially in my time at Artios. I really prioritized being put together and appearing put together and being on top of all of my work and learning all of the songs and knowing my part and being the best I can be in everything. And that really transferred into other areas of my life where in my faith, I did not want to confront my sin and I did not want to confront the fact that I was broken and that I needed to be saved. And so the more I had to practice that in my lessons, the more I feel like that happened in my life in different areas. So as I was able to be more honest and actually get up there, and I remember one big thing was Mr. Toller telling me that I needed to be willing to come into a lesson and make a mistake. And if I wasn't willing to do that, then I was never going to improve because I was always going to be playing it safe. And I was never going to actually get better because he'd never be able to help me. And so I kind of realized that I was never going to grow in my church, in my small groups, in my school, anywhere. I was never going to grow if I wasn't willing to be wrong sometimes. And if I wasn't willing to mess up and be corrected and be forgiven and then go from there and improve and do better, become more like Christ. So that is definitely a lesson that has stuck with me and something that I am still working on every day. And even notice, because I still take private lessons, even notice now in my private lessons that when I start to fall back into that attitude of, I'm not going to do that song because that one's not ready, like that one isn't good enough yet, it needs to be perfect, then I have to push myself and say, I need to do it anyways because that's the only way I'm actually going to get better. It's the only way I'm going to become a better person. Is if
Yeah,
I let that happen.
that's so good. Like in doing the arts, I saw this in every single person at Ardios. It has a way of putting you in a situation that kind of strips away all the things you kind of use as protection,
Mhm.
and to cover up things. And as teachers, because it's just uncomfortable, right? It's uncomfortable to be on stage, no matter how long you've done it. It's just, especially singing, because you're just up there standing. You're not behind any instrument, and it's just like it puts you in these situations of like a good discomfort where you really start to figure out like who you are and how you respond to things. And like I remember, um, when was this? Was this my sophomore year? No, it would have been my junior year. Would have been my junior year during a voice lesson. Um,
Of course.
we were we were going through this, and I think it was a lot like you of thinking the technique. It's just got to sound good. I don't really care about anything else. It's just good technique, sound good, right? I was thinking about high school festival at Bob Jones. Good technique, here we come, right? So,
Of course.
and I remember we were near the beginning of the lesson, and Mrs. Potwin just like stops, and she goes like it was I remember it so much. She's sitting at the piano, and she goes, "Jared, I think we have a wrong mindset about this." And I'm like, "Okay." And she's like, "I really think that you are singing for Jared Lane so that you know you're a good singer, right? But that's not why you have it, right?" And she was like, "You need to be thinking about this as giving a gift to the audience. Because why else would God have given you vocal cords and put you in the position that you are in at Ardios to be able to learn how to sing without it being a gift to other people?" And I was like, oh boy. Oh, oh. And so she was like, really everything that you've been given, all these talents or skills, whether it's music, math, or science, or whatever. She was like, all of these were given to you so that you could give to other people, give the same things to other people. And so she was like, so when you perform this was like I think the day of like our preview thing when we'd all like perform for each other before we went off to Bob Jones.
Yeah.
She was like, you really got to think that this is being a gift to other people, because number one, that's the right way to do it, and then number two, that's what's holding you back, is because you're kind of doing this to prove to yourself that you can sing, right? And stuff like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, like whoa, and like that has flowed into so many areas of my life. Like it's really hard to think, like if she had not decided to stop the lesson right then and there and have this like come to Jesus meeting, like what would I have done like through college where like the pressure is real, like there's pressure in audios, but like where it's like you have your jury, and it's like where professors recommend you continue in your major of music and they recommend you not. And it's like if I hadn't had that talk and been able to think back to that during those stressful times, I don't think I would have made it. I really don't think I would have.
Yeah. No, that's huge. I remember learning the same kind of thing, less through a come to Jesus meeting, but I remember, I think sophomore year in our choir, I was given a solo for a song. We were taking to Bob Jones.
Mhm.
And I was so excited about it. It was just the biggest deal to me. And we went and we like finaled and everything. And we were just so excited, super proud of ourselves. And I was definitely cocky about it. I was very pleased with myself. And I was like, man, this solo is just so perfect for me. Like, this is right up my alley, right in my range. And I was super pleased with it. And then a couple months down the line, is when Dan Thompson, who I now think of as Grandpa Dan, passed away.
Mhm.
And at his funeral, Artios sang, and we sang that song. And I remember Mr. Toller telling us, this is the song we're going to do. This is what Grandma Jackie wanted us to do. So we're going to work on that. And we ended up singing that song again for Dana Perry's funeral. And I just remember for both of those circumstances, it was like, there is no way in the world that I can think of this as a selfish moment. This has to be a gift to the people who are here, celebrating the lives that these people led and mourning the loss, and just entirely selfless. It cannot in any way be about me.
Mhm.
And if it is, then why am I here? Why did I bother? So that was a game-changing moment for me. Definitely
Yeah.
experienced that. And I'm really glad that I did, because I think if I had gone into college thinking that this was all about me, then I'd be a really big mess right now. So
Yeah.
I'm glad I learned that when I did.
Yeah, that's for sure. Like all those times where um, the teachers took the time to really show us, how our faith in the Bible directly applies to our lives. In that way, like that mindset shift of singing, and how in a very real way it kind of instantly makes you able to sing better,
Mhm.
and things like that, or how that enables you to get through situations that you didn't think you would be able to get through because of or without crashing and burning and then rolling over on the other side, kind of a deal, without all the talks. And it just like spills into everything of like, you really start to realize that the Bible really is sufficient for everything. And I feel like the teachers, because like I think that sometimes we look at it and it's like there's all these things, but it's like, how in the world does it apply to all these things when none of these stories match my own stories? And that was like, Mrs. Poundland, Daphne Fine, all the teachers at Artios, they had their own experiences and how this random story in Second Kings applied to their life, and then they start pouring into you, and you're like, oh wow, it does apply on like this minuscule level of my life. It just kind of spills into really everything. I feel like it's really
Yeah,
cool.
definitely.
Yeah. So to wrap it up, what would you say was one of your favorite out of like all the things? What was one of your favorite times or memories at Artios?
Oh gosh. So much to choose from. um Man, I loved so much of my time at Artios, so it's definitely hard to choose. um but if I had to narrow it down, I would definitely say graduation was a really big moment for me, but I'm gonna go back farther. I think one of my favorite moments at Artios that I can remember off the top of my head is when I was a sophomore. We started the student ambassador program at our Artios, and I was a student ambassador. And one of the parts of that was that we led worship during our assemblies. and we would do it for all ages. So we had everyone there, and we always had the high schoolers standing in the back looking like they were too cool to be there, kind of look like they're important, but they didn't. And then we had the middle schoolers kind of spread out, and we had all of the elementary and the minis like all towards the front. And throughout all of the time that I was a student ambassador, everybody loved the song My Lighthouse.
Yeah.
And we used to do the motions to it. And when we started doing that, it was just my favorite thing, because the entire school, even the high schoolers who were thinking they were too cool to be there, everyone just got so into it. And we all just danced together and worshiped and sang through the song and did these ridiculous motions. And you'd have the little kids in the very front just losing their minds, having the best time. And then the kids in the back who were just going crazy. And it was really special, because I think one of the things that I valued a lot about my time at Artios was everyone being together and having all of those ages and different seasons of life in one place, and just having people humble themselves, like being a high schooler who had to humble myself to the point of saying, I'm going to get here and like be dancing on the floor with these elementary schoolers. And I cannot care whether I look good or not. I cannot care whether I look cool. It doesn't matter, because I'm worshiping and I'm fellowshipping with these people. And that definitely is one of my favorite moments of my time there. There's so many things that I loved, and there's so many different stories I can look back on. But when I think about Artios, I think about looking out over all of those people and all of those ages together, worshiping and singing and dancing together.
That's awesome.
It was great.
That's really great. I think of that a lot too. We had a Artios movie night one time, and I remember I was in the back, and I got to be the person who pressed play and pause on the movie. Wow. And like you can see, wow, right? You can just see the whole Artios family right there. They're all there, and all the families that had like 2-year-olds that you've never seen before, those 2-year-olds are there. And it doesn't matter if the other kids hadn't seen that 2-year-old, they're like officially the adopted little sibling of all the kids and stuff like that. And it's just, even like the parents are mingling and talking to each other, and it's a really awesome place.